This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 765, The Details, and Cola and Politics by Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus of Minimalists.com, and I'm Justin Malik, your very own personal narrator. Welcome to the podcast where blogs are read to you so that you can take a break from staring at a screen, read to you in real time usually, not when I'm sick, but sometimes. I'll tell you about that in a second, but before we get to it, I'm excited to have SaneBox back as a sponsor. If you're not at inbox zero or if you have a ton of emails backed up, you got to check them out. SaneBox sorts through your email and moves all of the trivial stuff into a different folder, so the only messages in your inbox are the ones you actually want to see. You can get a free 14-day trial by visiting sanebox.com/old. That's SANEBOX.com/OLD, and I'll have that linked in this episode's description. So I mentioned in yesterday's episode that I felt like I was getting sick. And yes, I'm sick now. Luckily, I do have some essays from the Minimalists that are pre-recorded for times like these so that I don't have to narrate stuffed up. I don't have many left, but I do have these two. One talks about politics, but I think it's safe for any affiliation. So with that, let's hear the posts as we optimize your life. The Details by Joshua Fields Millburn. Daily life is overwhelming. Each day we are faced with an unforgiving barrage of in-your-face advertisements, with calls to action, and with 500,000 bits of unsolicited data. Amongst this information avalanche, it's difficult to discern which details are relevant and which are not. It is, however, the details that make life interesting, exciting, and most of all, memorable. The details are important. Both God and the devil reside there. Without life's myriad particulars, our lives lack variety. And without variety, we quickly get bored out of our skulls. To illustrate, last year's MisfitCon was without doubt the best conference I've attended, and I've attended scores. It wasn't special because of an expensive light show, some brand new technology, or even because I spoke there. It was special because of its intentionality and the overwhelming attention paid to the small things. AJ and Melissa Leon, Misfits founders, focused fervently on the details. They didn't hold the event in your typical conference-type location like New York or California, opting instead for Fargo, North Dakota, a city surprisingly rampant with creativity. AJ and Melissa involved the local community too, intertwining neighborhood artists, musicians, and writers into the proceedings. And they didn't attempt to scale up the affair, opting instead for handcrafted everything, from the surprise venues and full-time on-site barista to the custom artwork on the walls and bright flowers hanging overhead like vibrant stalactites. They even curated not just the event's guest speakers, but also the audience, deciding to limit the number of attendees to fewer than 150, requiring an approved application to attend. Hundreds of people from all over the world applied, only a fraction were accepted. The whole thing was, in a word, unforgettable. In fact, every memory we hold, good or bad, is compromised of absorptive details. We remember outstanding conferences like Misfit because people like AJ and Melissa are obsessed with getting the details right, the handcraftedness, the personal touch, the careful curation. Conversely, we remember a restaurant's terrible service because of the little things they got wrong, the overcooked meat, the apathetic waiter, the crumbs on the table. Without the details, though, the experience is neither good nor bad. It is transactional. No one ever remembers the transaction. Transactions are banal by nature. Get bogged down with too many details and life quickly becomes overwhelming, unbearable, vanquished with sensory overload. It is our job to distinguish the 2% of the details that are important from the unimportant 98%. This is a lesson I teach in my online writing class. A great story highlights the essential 2% by eliminating the superfluous 98%. Only then does the story become interesting. Only then is the reader absorbed into something more meaningful. This was true for the MisfitCon. It was remarkable not only because of the attention to detail, but because of the deliberate attention to meaningful details. The same holds true for any well-curated life. Of those 500,000 daily inputs, the key is to highlight the few dozen that are actually important, the details that add value to our lives. Often, the best way to do so is to start eliminating, to get rid of the excess that makes life opaque so that everything worthwhile shines through. The details are direly important. Being obsessed with the right details is even more important. Cola and Politics. Quote, "There's no such thing as not voting. You either vote by voting, or you vote by staying home and tacitly doubling the value of some diehard's vote." David Foster Wallace. Another big election is peeking its gigantic, mass-mediated noggin around the corner. It's almost here, and if we rely solely on the U.S. media for our info, then we might believe we have only two choices, Democrat versus Republican. Believing there are only two voting options is like assuming we have only two beverage choices, Coke versus Pepsi. Sure, you might enjoy the taste of one over the other, but they're both essentially the same thing. That choice is a faux choice, and thus not much of a choice at all. The truth is we have myriad options, not just Coke or Pepsi, not just Democrat or Republican. We can choose to live more consciously, realizing and understanding our options. Instead of cola, we can drink water or green drinks. Instead of the main political parties, we can vote Libertarian or Green Party, or write in Ryan Nicodemus. Irrespective of our choice, we can ignore what we're quote-unquote supposed to do and instead follow our hearts. Some people might argue you're throwing away your vote, but if you follow your heart, it's never in vain, even when you know you're going to lose. That goes for relationships, health, politics, or any other area of life. If you follow your heart, you can lose only once. But if you don't, you may lose 1,000 times, a trail of scattered regrets strewn throughout the landscape in the rear view. We have no interest in propagating our own political views here. Rather, we simply want to encourage you to be true to yourself. Drink your pop and vote the party line if that's what your heart tells you to do. If it doesn't, there are always other options. You just listened to the post titled The Details and Cola and Politics by Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus of theminimalists.com. Thank you again to SaneBox for their support. SaneBox is a great way to build the habit of keeping your inbox nice and sane. Organizing your email inbox can be really difficult, I would know. And if you feel like you can't keep up, check out sanebox.com/old. SaneBox will remove all of the junk so you can focus on messages that actually matter. They have a cool feature called the black hole. If you move an email into that folder, you'll never hear from the sender again. Please don't use it on me, but definitely for all the junk. It'll save you a ton of time and your sanity. And I got a special deal for listeners of this show. Visit sanebox.com/old today, and they'll not only give you a free 2-week trial, but also throw in an extra $25 credit on top of it. You don't have to enter your credit card information unless you decide to buy, so there's nothing to worry about there. Just try it out and see how it helps with your email inbox. Again, you can get all of that at sanebox.com/OLD. That's sanebox.com/OLD, and I have it linked in this episode's description. Now, tomorrow will likely be some more from the Minimalists as I try to recover. Also, my business partner, Lee, who also happens to be my co-host of Optimal Business Daily, is supposed to drive in all the way from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to here, Southern California. And it'll be sad if I'm still sick for that, but luckily he's staying for a while. So anyway, I'll likely have some more great topics from the Minimalists over the next day or two. So with that, have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you for Minimalist Monday, where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.